I'm feeling protected.
Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you all so much for joining our Power of 8 at 8, a little bit after actually. And I do have Eileen with me. How are you doing, Eileen?
I'm good. It's 8:16 on my clock. Was I muted?
I just nicked off the very front of what you were saying. I was trying to rush to it. Am I going to make it in time? I'm
You
sure I
did.
nicked off a little
You
bit, but
did.
people could understand. So
Cool.
it
I'm
takes
good.
practice. Takes practice to get the fluidity going, you know what I
It
mean?
just kind of it makes us laugh, so it's a good way to start a show.
Totally. Yeah.
Now, people keep commenting that I look like I'm wearing flowers. Look at that. I look like Princess Leia. I've got a flower on each side, right? Those are actually fake, I'm sorry to say, but they're the only fake flowers I have in here. I should dust them once in a while, and I should move them so I don't look like I'm wearing them in my hair. Ah!
You should get that, that geometry that moves around and put it right behind your head where it's turning.
Oh, yeah, here.
Next
I
week.
don't think my kitchen's too dirty, but I bought the Unity ball,
Yeah.
which is called the Unity Grid from we got to have them on again,
Oh, yeah,
from
definitely.
Metaforms, and it contains all the triangles in the circle contain the amount of triangles you could fit on the surface of the Great Pyramid at Cheops. I don't know if you can see it besides my dirty kitchen if I turn this around. Tell me if you can see it.
Yeah, let me go full screen here. Screen big. Okay, yeah.
So I bought this selenite lamp a few years ago, which I love because when I turn the lights off, it gives it a really nice glow. And then I got the Unity grid with the little spinner, which I use for our live shows. And sometimes I turn it on during the week. And then my sister sent me, see the salt lamp? You see the pink salt lamp?
Yeah, that's the pink one over there.
Yeah, it's kind of orangey pink. It's beautiful. It's huge.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I bet
And
it's
then
cool to kill all the lights and then have those shadows from that
yeah, it
metaform
is. It
from you.
really, those two lights really put a beautiful glow into the room, along with my Christmas tree, which is small this year because we have a puppy. We had to get something that would stand like on a table.
Uh,
So puppy wouldn't be pulling the tree over constantly, right?
yeah, I remember one year we had our little white cat snowball that would actually climb up in our little tree and like hang out there in the branches and knock off the little ornaments and stuff. So
Yeah, especially the glass ones, right? Crash,
yeah,
crash. When we had our dog, our previous dog, was young, he used to jump up to pull the candy canes off because he could smell the sugar in them. And he pulled the whole tree over. He was a cocker spaniel. He was so cute, but candy canes.
that's interesting. Yeah, that's you gotta love it. You know, I mean, at those times like that, you can get upset with the pet, but at the same time, you can just laugh and enjoy it. Actually, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I thought that my big goal in this life was to be more patient and be less judgmental of pets, of people, of everything in life. And today I'm feeling very mellow, and I'm just feeling like I just want to be kind. You know, when things happen and they upset you and maybe they're not fair, like you get overcharged.
Yeah.
I just want to be kind about it. I don't want to go back in waving my receipt going, "Hey, you overcharged me $10." I just want to figure out how to do that in a really kind way.
That's funny that you said that because that actually happened to me where I went out to get a salad bar somewhere and the guy was getting you could tell he was the register or whatever wasn't working right and he was feeling the anxiety of me waiting and stuff like that and he was just kind of getting flustered or whatever and so he's like, okay, what were you wanting? I'm like, oh, just the salad bar, and he's like, okay, and he tries to ring it up and he goes, I was afraid that was going to happen. I don't have a drawer in here, it's not working. I'm like, oh, well, I was just going to pay with this debit card anyway. And he grabs the plate from under the counter and he's like, I'm like, are you sure I can? I'll just come back in a little bit, you know. And I don't want to get the guy in trouble or something, you
No,
know.
no.
But yeah, so he ends up, you know, just letting me have it or whatever. I put a couple bucks on the table for a tip. It's not like the kind of place you
Nice.
tip, but you
Yeah, it's
know,
probably like a $5 salad, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would have
Well,
been $7, but with the $2 tip. So yeah, it's like I manifested a free meal, which somebody was just. I wasn't trying to though. It just kind of happened.
it
Yeah.
just kind of happened. The same thing, synchronicity, happened to me today. I wonder how many people listening had something similar. I woke up a bit tired and a bit cranky, I must admit. Um, Maybe I didn't get enough sleep or whatever, or maybe I didn't eat the day before because I noticed that I really react now to food, alcohol, anything I put in my body changes my moods as well. So I tried to buy two coffees and I tried to top up my daughter's Starbucks card and mine with $10 each so that we could get Christmas drinks, right? It's kind of like a Christmas Starbucks card. And she took the $20 and put 10 on one of them. And I got home and I checked and I felt robbed of $10. And I was like, do I really want to drive all the way back across town for $10? I'm like, yes, I do. I'm my father's child, you know. There's a dollar there. Go get it. So by the time I got there, I was a bit riled about having to go down three flights of stairs, get in my car, drive across town, heavy traffic, Christmas traffic, whatever. That kind of like got me a little ticked off. So by the time I went through and said, hey, look, I gave you 20 and asked you to top up two Christmas cards for $10 each. You only did one. She was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And that just did it. All my anger disappeared. I was like, how can I get mad at somebody who's young and lovely and made a simple mistake? Simple.
That's exactly how I felt. I could feel the guy's anxiety, and it made me extra nice so that I didn't make it worse. Because I know how it is sometimes. If I've been there, I've been on the register, not knowing what I'm doing, and you know, people are getting angry. It's lunch, and you know, you feel all that pressure and all that energy they're sending, that hate. You know what I mean? And I was just
Yeah.
wanting to make sure I didn't do that to this young guy
I feel
because
like I did because her boss came up, her manager, who was shorter and just as young as her, but flustered, and she got mad at her for having made that mistake. And I was like, was it worth it? Was it worth getting my $10 back just so that this young girl could get in trouble? I know I'm taking that to the shouldn't feel guilty, but I did. I left feeling worse for getting her in trouble and getting my $10 back than if I just stayed home and
hmm
just thought, whatever.
you're going to notice this on playback, but every now and then there's a little chunk of sound that goes away. I don't know why,
Oh dear.
but
Well, here's the deal. I have
excuse me.
brand new headphones,
hmm
right? Skull Candy, which I was told was good, but they were only $10. And they have a microphone, see?
Yeah.
And my daughter's computer, which I just bought the same model of HP for myself, has one jack. And that jack is combined for headphones and microphone. So when I was using the old headphones that didn't have a microphone, I would get a grumble. Every now and then a grumble would kick in
For
and
me
people would,
talking over you like
yeah,
that.
yeah, a
It
grumble.
didn't come through. I was testing it. I wasn't really talking over you on purpose. Or I guess I was.
You do have a low voice. It could be Shane probably. But people in the live chat who we know were saying, yeah, I'm calling them lions. I'm calling them a growl. I'm like, gosh, I really want to get rid of that sound. So I went out and bought new headphones to get rid of the grumble.
I think there was an airplane last week during the meditation. Is that what that one sound was during the
Well,
meditation?
no, I have a theory on that, though. I do have a theory on that. Sometimes when we get deep into a meditation in this group,
hmm
we get anomalies. We get vibrational, energetic anomalies that totally mess with the electronics of me talking through a computer to Shane, to the satellite, to all of you guys. And the reason I think they're connected and that it's energetic because they occur on words like last week was God. When I said the word God, everything went whoa. And then a couple of months ago, when I said love or forgive, the whole system went wah.
I think it's your. There's an adjustment, like an automatic adjustment on the volume, and something's making it turn down for a split second and turn back up. But I'm not missing anything. I just know you're going to hear it on the playback and probably wonder
Here.
about it. And I
Oh,
don't.
darn it. All these. Okay, here's the volume control. And because these headphones are so good, I turned the volume way down. Do you think, Shane, that's why? If I put it on full? There. Tell me if it goes away, because now I've got the speakers on full.
Maybe that's what it's done. Maybe it's turning up and back down. And but if you have it all the way full, maybe it'll stay that way or something.
Only now you're like loud.
Oh, in your ears. Oh, that's probably then. That's probably just the headphone volume. If it's
How do you fix that? Oh my God, I do have a clicker. Remember you said, do you have a clicker on your...
yeah, it. I think it's a mute. I can't. Wait, say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you. I think it muted you for a second. Did you push it twice? I think it muted you for a second.
I'm trying to turn down the headphones, my new blasting headphones.
Yeah, you can turn it down on the. Because I'm pretty sure that's just the. Am I tearing your ears up right now?
No,
Turn,
that's okay, because you're soft spoken, but it's super loud. How do I turn just the headphones down without turning the volume down?
it should be the volume down by your clock down there. Speaker.
Yeah,
It'll say speaker volume. That.
that's what makes me drop in and out is when I turn that down. There. How's that?
Yeah, it's good. Did the volume control? Did that sound just come out your speakers or the headphones? Because I'm hearing it come out the speakers.
Headphones.
Really? That was
That's
that
how
loud.
loud they are. I'm telling you, I might come off the show deaf.
Yeah, you can
You
turn it
can
down.
hear them.
Like mine are at 84%, and then on my mic itself, it's like at halfway. So yeah, you can really turn it down, and
Okay, I'm going to.
yeah, turn that down.
I'm at 50% now, and this is nice. This is comfortable, but I think that might be why this silly combined microphone headphone jack is going in and out. Oh, well. At
Okay.
least it won't be grumbling. We're not going to scare anybody in the middle of a meditation, right?
Right, and I can work with you after we go off the air to see if it's sometimes there's like enhancements that get turned on, and you can disable those. And
Yes, there are enhancements that make up for background sound. They try to mute background sound and raise, and they try to keep your voice level steady at all times. You're right. Maybe we can get those turned off.
yeah, or we could
Cool.
turn this into a tutorial and just go through it real fast. Just
You
like-
poor guys out there have to listen to me and technology every single week.
if it gets real bad or does it a lot or whatever, we can fix it real quick. It really would take about a minute or something. So it's
Okay.
but it.
I don't think anybody in this chat room cares. I don't think they care if we like
Nah.
go into fixing tech stuff.
Totally. Okay, awesome. So I was trying to actually pull up last week's video because I think somebody had left some suggestions for this week. But if anybody,
Usually I check, but I didn't this week because I literally just got off answering my email. Somehow I missed a whole bunch of emails from last week. So I was concentrating on catching up on my emails and I didn't check the chat for meditation requests. But I usually do. I usually, right before we go on, I'll look and see what you guys said last week. Not in the live stream, but in the posted comments.
so it's kind of funny because I kind of like I was like, wait a minute, I just dropped like 70 subscribers somehow, and I thought maybe they were messing with me, and then I saw this announcement. So I'm just saying this because this could affect other YouTubers, content creators, because it says on December 13th and 14th, 2018, you may see a noticeable decrease in your subscriber count as we remove spam from your channel. So evidently, fake.
This is what I tried to say to Michelle's opinion. She lost like 2,000 subscribers and did a video on it today. And I said to her, I was notified that they would be removing fake channels, fake subs, fake commenters.
She lost 2,000 subscribers?
Yeah, overnight.
Oh,
And I
wow.
said, perhaps though, you never know, perhaps they're targeting the more positive and Mandela affected channels more than their mainstream regulars. It might not be, I don't know. I hate to expect negative, but I don't think they really do support our channels. I don't see them supporting avant-garde thought, spirituality, metaphysics,
Wow,
Mandela
2,000.
effect.
That's quite a bit. I know if you're approached, and I don't know if she's done this or whatever, but if you're approached by a third party that says, hey, we can get you subscribers, do this and this and this, pay this amount of money or whatever, they've set up like hundreds or thousands of accounts that they'll just subscribe to your account to give you a big boost in your subscriber count, but it's not organic. And as soon as like YouTube catches on to what's going on, they get rid of those because they consider that spam, not organic, real
So
people.
that's how they define spam. I think she should, if she can, go back to YouTube and ask them to make sure and do a recount.
Unless she used one of those services, then they could actually kick her off of YouTube for using it because that's against the. I don't know if she's read the rules, but that's against the rules to use any kind of. And I've been approached several times. I just always ignore it. But for anybody that's out there, if you're approached by anyone, they say they can get you a bunch of subscribers. I don't even know what they charge because
Just don't do it.
I never even paid attention to it. But that can get you banned from YouTube, and it can. They're just going to add a bunch of accounts that aren't going to get you any hits anyway. It's just going to make you feel like you got 2,000 more subscribers or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So just so
Well,
you know.
she's got a great channel, and she's been putting out like a video a day, and they're so interesting. You know, everything from, I don't know, the shift and the event to sacred geometry to you name it. She'll touch on any subject that seems to be metaphysical. And she's been growing and growing and growing. So I hope, chin up, Michelle, and ask YouTube to go back and do a recount because your channel's awesome. And yeah, I don't know. I did receive a warning from YouTube a month ago that they were going to remove any fake subscribers or fake um, views. I guess you can do that with views as well. So I just ignored it because my tiny little channel, I get about 100 people a month, I think, subscribe to me, which is fine. That's plenty of growth for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just cut out right there, and I was checking to see if it was my mic, and it wasn't my mic, so it's probably that enhancement. I only did for a second. We heard you, but she's saying
Okay.
her mom and I think she's saying her mom and dad had to resubscribe. So that sounds like it's more than just fake accounts. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
me too. I got to make sure I'm still subscribed to you as well. Is Michelle in the room?
Yeah, she's here.
Hey, Michelle. I would definitely go back and challenge it with you too because that was a real hit. That was hard.
Yeah,
And who knows, maybe they're just targeting more so people who they really don't want people listening to. You know, people, I guess the main theme on your channel is empowering others. It's all about sovereignty. It's all about standing in your own power. And that's the last thing that MSM is going to encourage, right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't worry about it. People find me. You know, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, but you said a week or two ago that you messed with numbers wise too. I
Yeah,
remember.
and matter of fact, when I saw this, I'm like, wow, they're really like pulling out the big guns on me and stuff because it looked like I was at gaining about after the average of the ups and the downs. It looks like I'm gaining about 100 a month, and I don't think I've seen it that low since maybe my first few
Yeah,
months. You know.
no way, because that's like my little tiny going up 1,000 a year, right? That's tiny. But I must say, my numbers were awesome today when I was going in and answering comments to people.
Yeah.
I had 1777 subscribers. I had three sevens. And on the video that I was answering to, it had 111 views. So I was like, 111, 1777. And I just felt like that was a really uplifting number combination to see. It made me feel good.
Totally. Yeah, I like when I see all that coming together like that too. It's really been amazing because I've been seeing it a lot. You know, the 1111s and sometimes multiple. Like I was saying that the last broadcast is I'll see them at the same time. Like it'd be like my odometer and the clock, or an address and a phone number or something that I see like right up, you know, right after each other or something. It's just kind of I don't know. It just really brings home the fact that we're in some kind of orchestrated reality. It feels like, you know.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Your segues into my brain are awesome because we don't plan this show, right? We just talk about anything. Any topic is on the table. And Jamie, hi, if you're out there, sent me ages ago, 6 months ago, he sent me mud flood videos and said, what do you think of these? You know, not like watch these, they're true. He's just like, let me know what you think about this.
Mud flood.
Yeah, mud floods. And I watched a few and I was like, well, that was interesting. And it went right out of my head. And then I started watching, I think it was called Gnostic Media, and now it's called Logos Media, about Tartary. this huge worldwide empire of peace and prosperity, supposedly. We don't really know, do we? We don't know anything about them. And now people are putting out a gazillion videos on mud floods and Tartary, and they're tying the two together. So these are such crazy rabbit holes to go down. They're fun, they're interesting. I find them fascinating, but it doesn't mean that I believe 100% of what's being presented. I just find it interesting and I appreciate it. I'm enjoying the exploration, but the alternative history they're giving us is really quite something else.
It's funny that you mentioned because Jan from Gnostic or Logos
Mhm.
Gnostic Media or whatever the name of it is now. He stopped by on what was it I think when I had Dr. Strassman on, and I couldn't believe his trolling comment he left down there.
Are
And
you serious?
yeah, he actually. I was like, even like if these are the feelings you had, why would you say these things and not leave any kind of proof or references to some kind of proof? He just basically called Strassman a shill, and I'm like,
Why?
wow. I'm like,
It's
I
about
really expected,
DMT.
right?
It's about
It,
altered consciousness. How could somebody like that be a
it
shill?
made me really think differently about him because not only the poor etiquette in doing that, but the fact that it was just such a trolling comment. If I wasn't aware of his channel, I wouldn't have even thought he had a channel. I would have just thought it was a troll. You know what I mean?
He has a
But
big channel,
yeah, I
and
was really surprised though because
he's
I
done some really good research, really interesting research, but I had to unsubscribe to him when he was saying negative things about Jewish people just because they were Jewish. And I know that that is considered a modern Gnostic approach, but it's not an approach I'm willing to take because
it's racist. You
I
know?
respect Jewish people
Yeah,
and their religion and their beliefs, just respect Christians and Buddhists and Muslims.
yeah.
So I unsubscribed because I felt like his Gnosticism was getting too pro Christian, anti Jewish. That's how it felt. So I unsubbed.
Oh, you know what? You just made me realize Dr. Strassman is a Jew, so it could have just been his racism coming out with Dr. Strassman, which is a
Oh,
shame
of
because that's so. Because he
course.
had no solid anything to back up what he said. He just basically said he's a Jesuit, hired by the Jesuits and all. And I'm like, what the heck's all this coming from? But maybe he's got a racist bone towards Jews. Who knows? I'm not
Yeah,
saying
and
that's the thing, but I'm just saying I was taken aback by the fact that he would just come on sale of all these unsubstantiated claims towards my guest in a really kind of trollish
wow.
way, and then, yeah, so
Now it's interesting because you obviously triggered him for absolutely no reason other than racism, right? But if you look back at some of his older videos on Carter, he's pulling up some really interesting maps of the world that show, okay, an old world order over most of Asia, all of Europe, half of the Middle East, and half of North America. And it's been wiped, the history of this old world order has been
except for
wiped.
the name of tartar sauce, that's the only thing that survived,
Yeah,
right?
and tartar on your teeth. Exactly. Tartar sauce. That's all that survived. And they were replaced by the Khazarian Jews who are fake Jews. The real Jews say the Khazarians are fake because they were all Christian. They lived in Georgia, what is today Georgia. And their king instantly said one day, they were all Christian. He said, starting tomorrow, you're all Jewish.
Yeah.
So and they unfortunately became the great bankers like the Rothschilds. And they do own 95% of all banks today. So maybe he's taking his history too far and that he's angry at people who are even just associated with it based on their religion, which is totally, I mean, I went to a Jesuit university. I was raised in Catholic schools and I lived in the Middle East. And I'm totally not racist, completely. I mean, maybe I have racism that I don't recognize, you know? I can't say I'm 100%, but I know that I'm like my best friends are black, white, Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, and my our family relationships are mixed in
Yeah,
our family and I'm really happy that we have mixed relationships because it makes me feel like that's the way the world should go, right? You and I have talked about
totally.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you don't prejudge people and you sort of meet people, you'll recognize there's good people in every culture, religion, and group that you come across. So it's not like you can ever lay out a blanket statement and say, well, if they're from this culture or this race or this religion, they're not a good person, because I've come across just
Yeah.
not even knowing because I don't even care, So, once you sort of just judge people for the content of their character, like Martin Luther King said, instead of like their skin color or something silly
Yeah.
like that,
Or
then
their religious beliefs,
yeah,
or their sex,
right,
right? Or their age.
yeah,
We have terrible ageism as well.
hmm
We're not very respectful of really old people, are we? Expect them to be like, doddering and incapable, and they aren't. They're just, yeah. So that's interesting because his channel probably has the wealth of Tartary information. And then to hear that I had to unsubscribe to him because I felt his comments were too racist, right?
yeah.
And you wound up with racist comments, probably.
I didn't even realize it until you just pointed out the fact that
Yeah,
he had a problem with Jews, and I was like, oh, well,
yeah.
duh, that's why he had a problem with it.
Well, that's this new wave of Gnostics. I mean, if you read the old Gnostic Gospels from the Nag Hammadi texts,
hmm
they're fascinating.
Yeah, I
They're
love them.
interesting. But I didn't find the old Gnostics hateful. Do you?
No, not at all.
But the new Gnostics today are using the old information and they're kind of using it as a sword and a shield against Judaism. It's like, why?
And
Why
it's kind of
bother?
funny that Gnosticism has almost become a religion in and of itself, when really
Yeah,
it was more like a state of mind of free thinkers, that it was all about knowing, a deeper knowing, rather than
yeah,
it
no,
was like
just
a group.
knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sort of turned into a group. So even though in the traditional sense I would probably consider myself more Gnostic, I can't say that because
But
now
we
it's a
can't
group.
now.
It's
We
a
can't now because there's a Mandela Effect Gnostic channel that I started to follow and had to unsubscribe from because he absolutely disliked Jews. And he said the Holocaust was all fake and no Jews died. And I got so offended by him. And I thought, he's Gnostic, Mandela affected, and hating on one particular race. It's like, no.
really. Was that
Yeah.
okay, was he related with the John Lash Lamb or Lamb Lash guy, or is that
Yeah, he started John Lamb or John Lash Lamb started a Mandela Effect channel, and he tried to interpret all the Mandela effects as anti-Jewish. And I'm like,
Oh, is
this
that
is
where that ended up leading? They were so long and
yeah,
drawn out that I didn't make it through all of them. But I've
yeah,
heard some interesting interviews with him. But then I would come across a few things that seemed super biased, and I was like, well, what?
yeah,
And I don't notice the racism. So I bet if I went back, I'd be like, oh, it would make sense. Just like this guy leaving this comment. And I was like, where did that come from, man?
yeah.
You seem cooler than that. And then all of a sudden you just come on and start talking bad about somebody. And it's like solid research that he's doing. I don't know. I don't know.
I know
So,
it's all over in when you go into avant-garde thought, sometimes you get into these little sects of people who are in the avant-garde thinking, but they are totally immersed in their own culture isms and they're hating on everybody else. And it's
right.
really interesting because I guess that kind of mentality is seen in every level of humanity, from the very, very ignorant to the very, very intelligent. There are these elements in humanity that like to separate themselves and find something or someone to hate, right? Which is so sad.
Yeah, it's like an us versus them mentality.
Now, somebody said to me, because I've been doing a lot of unity talking, which is my background anyway, since I did a course in miracles and believing that all humans are one and that we are the consciousness of planet Earth. I mean, think about it. Planet Earth has all of these strata of intelligent life. You start with the minerals, and then you're in the vegetation, then you're in the animals, and then you're at the human, right?
Right.
And together, we represent the thought power or the brain of Earth. So I believe we are one consciousness of humanity and we represent the consciousness right now of Earth. And I think that's why this Mandela effect is so important. But somebody was saying to me when I was talking about unity, Shane, they were saying, oh, yeah, you're just part of that one world order, one religion, one government, one military. And I'm like, no, I'm actually the opposite of that. I believe each country should have its sovereignty to be who they are, but cooperate with all others, you know? So I keep getting kind of stumbling across people who think that unity, being one human kind, means that you have to have a one world order, and you don't.
Yeah, I get that often too, and it's because it's been prophesied, that there's going to be, a one world religion and that one world government and all of this sort of. And I think that's the purpose. It's like orchestrated to cause us not to want to be more unified in our thinking because, oh, well, if we do that, that's leading to exactly what Satan's wanting, the one world government. So I think
Yeah.
it's the trap that's been placed there to see if you can fall into this whole idea. And so, yeah, I don't know. I find it,
How do I explain unity in consciousness, but not unity in government? How do you explain that? It's tough.
yeah, it's part of the challenge that we have, I guess, because I don't really even consider any of that. The religion, and I feel like the religions will remain, and people can hopefully respect the diversity in people's religious beliefs, let people be with whatever they believe, and just come together with some kind of common ground. Hey, we believe in something more than us, and none of us can prove, if anybody could really prove their position, there wouldn't be a debate with it. So I say let everybody be on their own path, respect where they're at and unify in that way, not sort of throw away your religion and culture and join this new one, you know what I mean? And I think that's sort of where people think that this is headed, that, oh, you've got to give up your beliefs. No, you can't be a Christian anymore. You got to join the one world religion now, or whatever. But really, what I think I see it as is people bringing their diversity together and really not judging others for being different, just
Yeah. Yeah.
accepting people for the way they are and not trying to sort of, judge and push your beliefs on other people and just, respect where people are at. Like we do here, we don't
Yeah.
push any
We
kind of
don't.
agendas.
We're not hard on each other. We don't even ask each other what's your religion?
Yeah,
What's your religious belief? We're like beyond separation.
yeah.
So that's a consciousness, a spiritual unity. But I think people are misplacing it with the typical suppressive, oppressive, one world government, one bank, one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And did they see this coming? Did they know that we would be moving into unity consciousness and love and respect for all human beings? And so they're taking the oppressive route of unity? I
or at
don't
least
know.
or at least putting it out there because we create our reality, and if they can get you viewing it that way, then as people see us becoming more unified, that they'll create the reality of this one more of a one world government idea of it rather than sort of like you were saying, more of the spiritual unity, this
Yeah.
humanity unity. It's like we're surrounding ourselves with unity of just being human. Forget all the little different differences we have. We're all human. We all know that love is the answer. This sort of idea,
And
rather than
cooperation. Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they're using the same words and the same ideas in a healing way that the spiritual movement of unity is using in a loving way. It's really interesting. And people caught in the middle who don't know what to believe are just automatically assuming that if you're in Christ consciousness or unity consciousness, because Christ really did, he was the first that I know of who said, what you do unto others, you also do unto me. He brought up the ultimate unity,
yeah.
you know,
The whole
and
golden rule.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he really did. So to me, I can see why people called unity consciousness Christ consciousness. And somehow that's getting mixed up with the New World Order. I'm
yeah.
like, I don't know how to respond to this, you know?
It's like mixing apples and oranges. But I think that's the purpose.
Yeah,
The whole
yeah,
confusion thing. They're trying to make it convoluted so people won't be like, I don't know, this is starting to sound like one world government and stuff. You're like,
yeah.
I don't know. What do you do? I did find from last week,
Ride the wave.
Mary Posa said, a topic I would like to meditate on is support for those moving through the grieving process. Many are experiencing family and friends transitioning and confused about the process. So that's probably a good one. Just at least to, one that would keep enduring as a meditation would be to just give those people strength and clarity as they move through maybe their grieving process. And that could be,
Yeah.
a loss of a relationship for
It could be
those,
loss of anything, a
yeah,
family member, a relationship,
a
a job.
friendship, a life. anything. So
How about loss of ourselves? As like when I was exploring mud floods and Tartary, I was like, oh my God, there's so much evidence to show that our history is not what we were told. But then
right,
I'm like, AI can recreate old maps in an instant, and it
yeah.
can put those old maps everywhere. So the new history that I'm seeing, is it any real than the old history that we were taught? Quantum of Conscience tackled that because suddenly there's mud floods and Tartary videos everywhere. Not just on my channel, they're everywhere.
So
Suddenly it caught on.
the mud flood is saying that mud flooded in and completely changed the geography of the earth, the way the land looks. Sort of like a
Yeah.
mudslide on a much grander scale. Is that kind of
Yeah.
the idea of it?
That's
Because
kind
I've
of the
seen.
idea. And they're saying before that, they had a grander, more cooperative society that used Tesla technologies of free energy. And that after that, when it was reconstructed, the reconstruction after the mud floods was the tyrannical, controlling banks. You know, we own you, we own your life, you work for us, you pay off your life from the moment you're born to the moment you die. And that somehow tied to mud floods. And then they try to tie Tartary to it, but you can't because the mud flood evidence, all the maps and photos is in the 1840s. And Tartary, according to those maps, was a huge empire in 1700.
Oh, so this isn't even that long ago, huh?
No, it's not that long ago.
Okay, so they're saying that just to catch people up and to, because it's been a while since I looked at it, the idea is that the history we've been told is completely fabricated
Completely fabricated.
of recent years, like the shape
200
of
years.
the continents, all of this, and it really used to be this, I guess, global empire called Tartary,
Yes,
and
yes. And it spanned, it came out of the Russian steppes and it spanned east and west, all most of Asia, half of China, all of Russia, all of Europe, and half of North America. So it did not span South America. Half of the United States, which became the United States later, was not covered, and India.
and there's some landmass that's not showing up anymore, like when they show the old Tartary maps, aren't there continents or landmass that isn't there currently on our current maps?
Yes, but that could be because when they drew those maps in the 1600s and the 1500s, they hadn't gone that far, so they didn't know. So
Ah,
that could be if these maps are true. Because
right.
if these maps are real, that means that there was an old world order that was very financially successful based on trade, peace, cooperation, and that some people are tying it to mud floods, kind of reset everything so that the banksters, the evil, the greedy could take over.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, and kind of redesign everything, redesign society and economics and finances and education and medicine and science the way that they wanted it because
Right.
they were financing the restructuring. But there's timeline problems. I don't know the timelines. I mean, like if the mud floods were in 1840, I guess not. I guess if Tartary existed in the 1700s peacefully, and then the mud floods happened in 1840, they're talking about the reset occurring in 1840 as well, like wiping out all history of what was before.
See now, when I came across this, it was so intriguing when but I was like, man, this is such a paradigm shift of the
Oh,
way I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go and try to just relearn everything I've learned. Not that it isn't true. It's just I've
it's
got enough.
possible.
It's totally possible, and it wasn't like I discounted it in that way. Like I don't want to hear this. It can't be true. But it was more like I've got enough on my plate of current things happening that I don't want to have to try to rewrite the history of my brain because
You
it's
do.
just.
If you follow these videos, and I've probably seen about 50
Oh
in
wow.
the last week. So I seriously down and read some articles as well. I try to get off YouTube, see what else is out there in the world
Yeah.
besides YouTube, right? I'm going to the University of YouTube. Thank you very much.
Are we all?
And by the end of it, I was like, yeah, this could have happened because it gets even worse, okay? These rabbit holes are fascinating because they say that the Great Plague was to wipe out people for the reset, and that the influenza of 1919, and of course the Great War was all orchestrated. And, it's like the Great War killed like 40 million people, but the influenza after the war killed 100 million. So they were like,
And the
these
Black Plague,
plagues,
how many was that? I mean, we got
oh,
nursery rhymes and stuff written for.
and they're saying that these plagues were unleashed as part of the reset. You had to get rid of the old people who had the memory of the old ways. Then you have something like the flu, who, of course, the very young or the very sick or infirm, but who's most susceptible to the flu? The old people.
And it mainly hit over on the mainland, or what we would consider the mainland of Tartary over in Europe, with the
Yes.
Black Plague and all that. It didn't really, it wasn't over here because I guess that was before
That was before we were big enough.
to travel from continent to continent and spread it around. And
This I find possible. I'm not saying it's true, guys. This is not what I'm saying is our factual history. I'm just putting it out there. What's I've come across on some of these videos, and that's because I've seen documentaries, videos, and articles that link common diseases like mononucleosis, the kissing disease. When did that outbreak in America? When all the college kids were protesting and demonstrating against the Vietnam War.
mm,
And I'm like, oh, they talk about different diseases targeting different individuals at different times of history. So I'm like, yeah, I suppose we can be using secretly some form of, I guess you would call it bio warfare by the people who kind of construct society. But I don't know. It's out there. It's way out there, but it is fascinating if you have time.
yeah, I did look into quite a bit of it, and it was fascinating. And I was sort of blown away at how much things can change when and orchestrate the history that we believe is true, and it be all fabricated. You can totally
Yeah,
see how it could be pulled off. It would be harder nowadays with the internet and so many people. They
would it? Because think about it. If you have AI and you program AI to put out 1,000 maps on Tartary in one day, you've changed history.
Yeah.
We don't have AI. We don't control the AI, but we go on the internet and go, look what's on the internet, therefore it must be true. That what really opened my eyes to that was the Trump book. They said that this person in the 1800s had written a book about Baron Trump and about his father becoming president. And it basically covered exactly what happened to Donald Trump and his son, Baron Trump. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. It's all over the internet. It says it was published in 1890, but where's the proof? Do you really believe that? Because one flick of the AI switch puts evidence and proof of that book all over the internet, drops it into Wikipedia, Google searches. It just puts it everywhere as if it really existed. And that's how easy it is to fabricate our history now. So I guess my point is anything real? Is anything true? And does it matter? If the only thing that matters is the people you love, the life that you're living, then does it matter if there really is an old world order that we never learned about? I guess it comes down to what matters while you're alive. Does history matter? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they say it does because if you don't know it, you're bound to repeat it and all this good stuff. But at the end of the day, are these always whoops? Are these things to get us out of the moment, and focus so much on the past that you know, if we're focused so much on the past, then we're not in the present. Or if we're worried too much about the future, you
We're not
know,
in the present.
we're not in the present. So that was sort of, it was a rabbit hole that I could tell went very deep. So while it was
Very
interesting
deep.
to me, I was like, I cannot get stuck in this hole. I don't ever see coming back out of this thing on the other side. And I don't see that it's important enough right now to sort of pull everybody down this wormhole, or basically a wormhole rabbit hole
Well,
with me.
I did a 5-minute video on it. So see a tiny video on what, like 50 videos. I put links in too. Check it out. And Meadow Rabbit, bless her cotton socks, said, "Thank you for summing this up in 5 minutes because I really can't be bothered to go and watch 50 hours of video."
I love
Like,
Metal
yeah,
Rabbit.
Yes,
Yeah, she's
you're
awesome. Sends me great stuff all the time.
She sends me great stuff, and Dead GPK and Janie and SB. What am I saying? SB Sherry sends
Yeah,
me
yeah.
awesome stuff too. And oh, our trucker friends are sending me stuff too to watch now. Pamela and is it
Daryl.
Daryl?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
So I guess I'm not recommending the rabbit hole unless it's really entertaining, it's fascinating, and it makes you think. It really makes you think. What if all of history was made up, all contrived? You got to go, how does that change my life? Well, I'm still sitting here talking to you guys. I'm still drinking water. I still have the dogs to walk.
It
I
is
still
fun to
have
ponder.
bills to pay.
Yeah.
It doesn't change my life in any way,
Yeah.
right?
But it is fun to ponder. It's great food for thought to imagine such a thing could be pulled off, just
Here's
because.
how I took it. I thought if we actually had a huge global um, societal structure that was based on trade and peace, we can do it again. If we did it back then, and we just don't know about it, that means it's easy peasy. We can do it again. We've done it before.
Yeah, totally. It's like as easy as they switched it one way, we could easily switch it back to even something better than what was originally here before. So I totally agree with that.
And who writes the history? The victors. So if the victors, due to mud floods or whatever, I don't know how people are combining those two, but they are, overthrew a peaceful empire to create a really greedy one that served them, a self-serving empire. Of course they would erase all knowledge of a better, bigger version
So
of
we're really
society.
needing a newer world order.
Yeah, that's what somebody said in the videos. They said, where do you think this new world order came from? It's because they replaced the old world order. And
Yeah.
then, of course, I've seen a lot of videos that showed how world wars restructured the banks. Basically, especially World War II, where they gave Eastern Europe to Russia and gave Western Europe to the Western banking system, which eventually was the EU. You can really see how the wars were implemented and hung on a hook of we need to go because of this. But at the end of it, it was subdividing and redividing up the territory.
That's strange because I was just realizing that it doesn't really change our history in the United States as much as it does if you're over in other parts of the world like Europe and stuff. I mean, it really drastically changes this whole idea of,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that I always look at that scripture of Daniel where Nebuchadnezzar, he has that dream of the statue where he's going to kill all the wise men if they don't interpret it, but he's not going to tell them what the dream was. I don't know if you know that story, but yeah, he's gonna kill them all if they don't tell him the dream because I think what it was is like he had one of those dreams but couldn't quite remember the details of it. So he wanted them to interpret it, but also to tell him what he dreamed, and they're like, nobody can do such a thing. And Daniel comes along and he says, my God's the real God, and of course I can tell you your dream and interpret it for you. Then he gives him this, prophecy or interpretation of his dream, which was a prophecy. The dream was, and it was like it starts with this golden head. It moves to this, chest of bronze or iron or something. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it basically outlined the history of the global powers of the world and says you are that head of gold. After you will come this empire, global empire, and it goes down through like the Bronze Age, all through all the way down into like I guess the Iron Age of the Roman Empire, and then into the mixture of the clay and the iron, which is like the papacy, where they've got
Yep.
like the Iron Age mixed in with the clay of religion, and then it breaks out into the five or the 10 toes, which was like the 10 European Union countries or something like that, and this was all from the time of Daniel. It's like I was always amazed by that prophecy that it could predict all the way into our current era, with
But
such
what
accuracy.
if that was written 200 years ago and added to the
Exactly.
Bible 200 years ago instead of 2,000 years
And
ago?
they've guided it into the 10 toes like they've done it. Now we got the euros and all becoming kind of one. And
Yep.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense because that was one of the things I asked Dr. Strassman about. I'm like, with all the prophecies, I know, because he brought up, Israel being prophesied to be like kicked out of the country and come back, the Jewish people or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of, That's a good prophecy, but the one with Daniel talking about the global powers and stuff has always really sort of blown me away because it seems to be so accurate for being thousands of years old
Thousands
or
of
whatever.
years old.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So with all the changes in the books being removed by the Bible in 700 and 300 and 1600 and 1500, who knows when that was actually tweaked, edited, or added,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
We have no way of knowing what the original Bible said. If there ever was an original book, it might have been added and edited like the Mandela effect all along the way.
yeah.
Every with every papacy or every, you know, I don't know, world, like when Constantinople used to rule the Christian world, what the Bible looked like then.
And all we can do is trust what we're told, what the books
Yeah.
say. I mean, nobody lives 100 years at best, and so we really can't go to someone and say, "Can you tell me what it was like then?" Or
Give me the copy. I want to
right,
see it myself, right? Give me the
exactly.
copy from. And this is interesting because there's some videos out, archaeology, Robert Seffer, and he's got an Atlantis video channel as well, but he's got the Robert Seffer channel. And they've got proof that an Egyptian princess migrated up to Scotland. Now, how interesting is that? And now they're finding proof of Celtic DNA in the pharaohs. Have you guys seen that? Where they really can't tell people what's in the DNA because it's so shocking. Who would have thought that Celts would have somehow been involved in ancient Egypt?
Yeah, and we've seen that with of course, the families. I know that video you sent me about this time last year was showing how the bloodlines mix with the Germans and the European or I guess the British Empire and all that, and how they changed names to hide the fact that their last name was really German to look more like.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so there was a lot of mixing and mingling going on way, way back, and not that long ago, but I mean, the time of Hitler
Yeah.
and stuff like
It,
that.
it you start to feel like your entire reality is one big construct
Yeah,
that is put together by those who rule. Those who rule decide what's in the history books and what you go to school to learn, right?
it's wild,
Because
isn't
none
it?
of us were there. None of us can remember any of this stuff.
Yeah,
So I'm thinking, how can that serve me? Being Mandela affected, being of unity consciousness, how can it serve me to know that everything in my reality is a construct that others have made up for me? I don't know, but I think it's important. I think it's going to impact my life. I really do. It's going to impact who I am and how I think.
really, for me, it's just more of the same. When I see all these FF attacks and just being lied to on so many different levels about everything, it's just like, oh, no big surprise, just more lies that I, you know, that I
You become
wasn't
immune
aware of.
to it. You
Yeah,
become immune, and you're like, okay, let's move on from that. Now what do we do? Where do we go? How do we make this place better? It's like, yeah, it's like an immunization. It's like a lot of little immunizations of falsehood bring you to a place where they just don't matter anymore.
that's crazy, isn't it? I mean, and then
It
it
is
goes through,
because
with religion or science or everything. We're finding out they really don't know. They've been pushing agendas this whole time, and even think about like the pharmaceutical industry and how big it is right now, and how it's not really there to help people. And on really every main issue, they're lying for their own benefit of money and power
of
and
money,
greed.
money, 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 money.
Yeah,
Dead GPK and I have been watching because we sent videos to each other, and they're from the Thunderbolt Project. Has anybody out there caught the channel called Thunderbolt Project? If you watch their old videos, I know you've seen a few,
yeah,
it talks about the electric universe, which is really electromagnetism because it's hard to like remove magnetism from the sun. You can't. It's electrified and it's magnetic.
yeah.
And it changes the whole construct of our reality of what's up there and what's out there is based on electromagnetic energy, not based on a bunch of hard, rocky balls spinning around in space creating gravity. And they really do talk about where science went wrong in the 1700s and the 1800s. And we allowed scientific facts to be established and propagated without proving them. And once those were considered facts, it stifled further consideration would actually explain how the Mandela effect works. That this is electromagnetic brainwave energy
Yeah.
interfering with and interacting with matter, which is also a kind of wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that we didn't go down that route 200 years ago really kind of leaves us befuddled on how is science going to deal with the Mandela effect once they're brave enough to start talking about it. They
And will
won't
that
talk about
happen?
it now. Yeah.
I have doubts they'll ever do that because I don't know. Even the one that who was it that just put out a video? Oh, Vanessa VA put one out where they were showing these celebrities talking about it. Did you see?
I did.
Yeah, and the one was just like, I don't know, man. She was like controlled opposition, it seemed like. She had an answer for every single thing that they presented. Well, that's because of this and this and this. And she just had it all figured out, you know, of why it was
But
misremembering.
but I don't think she changed the two guys' minds. There were two men chatting about their Mandela effects on like a celebrity radio station,
But then they
maybe.
were pumping her up at like, oh, how smart you are. You've got it all figured out. You're just so smart and just, you know what I mean? It seemed like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
almost set up for the viewer to, even though they didn't seem
yeah.
like they jumped on board, they still pumped her up as being the smart one of the
They
group.
did. They're
And
like, oh, you've got an answer for everything.
yeah,
I think we're going to see a lot of that, but I'm getting a lot of comments now when I do a Mandela effect video from people who are just newly awakened. And they're like, hey, I'm still afraid to tell anybody about this, but I can see it too. But I haven't told my wife yet.
yeah. I don't know. The one guy that was really presenting all of the things, he was, and I don't know, was that the boyfriend of the girl?
I don't know. I think they were just three chat radio hosts.
Oh, okay, maybe so.
Yeah, I think
Because it
so.
seemed like they were talking about like as he was going through it, she was like sort of debunking it as they went through it, and then they continued on the air or something. But I could totally be wrong. But it seemed like she had something ready for every single thing he brought up, and I was like, oh my gosh, and they weren't defending anything very well. Well, how
No, they
about this
weren't.
or that or that? But
I
you
felt
know,
like if one of us were there, we could defend it better. But they were just sharing their personal Mandela effects. It could have all been contrived. It could
yeah.
have all been set up just to get this false memory, false memory, false memory.
And they seemed kind of like noobs to the whole idea. Like they were
Yeah,
sort of in that initial shock that you go through when you. I know at least
yeah,
the main guy talking was the one presenting the things. You could tell he was still in those initial shock phases of a friend telling him about it. Now he's looking at it and he's like, I can't believe this stuff has changed like this. And, he had that excitement that we all feel in the very beginning when we're like, oh my God, and you could feel that coming through,
and
you know.
that although they didn't seem very scared because a lot of people talk about that initial, and you're like, hang on a minute, it used to be this way, and then you're like, must have been my memory, and then the next time you go, wait a minute, I'm sure that changed, and then by the third, fourth, fifth, sixth time, you're just like, what the f is going on here? Matter is shifting and changing around me, and most people react with fear. That's their first thing is like, oh my God, what's happened to my reality, right?
I think it's that experience of cognitive dissonance, which is a natural phenomenon that happens because your brain is holding two contradictory ideas. Well, this is impossible. This has happened, and like, what do I do with this?
Okay,
And your
so
brain
going
is,
back to Thunderbolt
yeah.
project, if you were taught for 200 years that the entire universe is electro and magnetic, and that matter is a form of electromagnetism, and so are your brain waves, then when like collective consciousness, collective memory, collective change something in matter, would you be surprised? Heck no. You'd be like, oh, that just means that this kind of wave is more powerful than this kind of wave. That doesn't have the same power as this does and this does. It would all seem normal if we'd been taught the right science, but we've been taught materialistic materialism. And the world is not based on materialism at all. That is for sure going to go out the window, you know?
And I think that's just the difficulty we have in seeing a solid wooden table and getting beyond the fact that it's not really solid and it's
Yeah.
not really
Waves.
hard and yeah, and that
That's
it's
all.
really just waves. And if you were to keep zooming in on it, you'd see that it's full of empty space because that sounds ridiculous. We see water roll across it, roll
You can
over the
feel it,
edge, and you can
you can
feel it.
touch it.
But all that happens here. Even though it
Yes,
seems like it's happening out there, you see your
it's
hands reach and
not.
touch it. That feeling of the hard table in front of you is happening up in the head, in the mind, in the
In the
consciousness,
perception.
the
Yeah, everything
perception.
you experience has to go through your perception. But we've got what? The five senses plus the sixth sense. We've got that gut feeling,
Yeah,
that intuition, that psychic ability. We all have the sixth sense. But all of our other five senses are on fire trying to interpret the world around us so that we're not scared and we know where we are.
exactly.
But do we know where we are? Has this all been constructed for us? Like, is one big, giant, happy experiment to see what happens to a bunch of creatures when you put them in an environment that they get to know? I'm thinking of like rats in a maze, and they're all comfortable, and they've set up their hierarchies, their little homes, and their little rulers. Everybody's comfortable. They know where they are and where they fit in. And then when they go to sleep, when they wake up, you remove it all. And suddenly the walls of the maze are gone. And suddenly, instead of a square and a box, you're in a circular environment. Imagine those animals would go kind of berserk at first, trying to figure out where the heck they are and what the heck happened to their reality, right?
Totally. And that would be an extreme case. If you just grab little bitty things in there and swap them out, maybe you can
Oh,
pause it like the whole Mandela effect is, and some are noticing, some aren't.
move stuff out
Yeah.
and then wake the animals up and let them go see where their food is, and the refrigerator is now turned into a swimming pool.
Right.
You know, they'd be like, huh? What? But the
Yeah.
funny thing with little animals, and I do speak from experience because I've had mice, hamsters, gerbils, rabbits, guinea pigs, dogs, fish, cats, frogs, snakes, turtles,
Birds.
snapping turtles. No, I wish I had a bird.
No
Did you have a
birds, huh?
bird?
Yeah, I had
Oh,
birds.
I love birds, but my mom said they poop too much. You couldn't. I guess she didn't want to do the bird thing. My grandma had a bird though, and when I was little, Timmy used to fly over to my oatmeal and eat my oatmeal with me. He was a little blue. We'd eat
A
my
little
oatmeal
blue
together.
what?
Budgie,
Ah,
little blue budgie, parakeet, parakeet.
parakeet. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. We had a little yellowish green or yellow and green one or something like that, I think. Or
So
yellow, blue,
what
and
do
green or something.
animals do when you upset what they know? They just adapt to it. Boom, they adapt to it. They figure it out.
Yeah,
You move house and you bring your animals with you, and now their water bowl and their food bowl is nowhere that it used to be in the old house. They sniff it out, they find it, they're fine. They're happy. They really adapt quickly. But us humans tend to go, well, why did that happen? What's going on here? Why is this different today? We're deep, deep, deep thinkers.
yeah. And that's what I guess the main crowd's like. Just forget about it. Matter's changing in an impossible way. Who cares?
Who cares? I don't know. But, it's interesting because I'm starting to get fewer and fewer comments of it's Satan, it's doom, this is the end of the world. And I'm getting more comments like, yeah, I'm starting to see it too. It's like people are getting braver.
Yeah.
You
I still
too?
have the trolls though that say like, what was the last one I read? It's like, I feel sorry for you people. Not really. Ha ha ha. And I'm like,
I'd be like, are you 12? Come on,
okay.
please tell me you are 12 years old.
I was thinking touche, but I didn't say anything. I just
I
left it.
got I got a couple too. But they were so like not even hurtful. They were just kind of stupid the way that they trolled me, so I just deleted them. I didn't
Yeah.
comment back.
Yeah, I just laugh at comments now because they really do tickle me. I mean, I'm just like, that's so funny. It was such a contradictory comment if they only knew. But I don't
I
push it.
know,
I
like
don't feel the
like
need to anymore. I'm like, they'll figure it out or they won't. It doesn't even
I
bother
don't
me.
feel like it either. I was like in the olden days, I would just like well, olden days, 2 years ago, I would argue and try to tell them how things have changed. And now I'm like, they'll see it eventually. Delete.
I think I just saw an orb fly by. I need to check on here in like 10 seconds when it goes by. I think I saw one just fly right across by your chest.
Ooh, we're gonna have to go back in slow mode. And anybody in the chat room see an orb?
Oh, it might have been too low to get picked up on the. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Cool, 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 cool. Well, should we do the meditation,
Yeah,
guys?
so what did you think about the topic?
I think it's a good one. I think it's a serious one, and I think we can do it with love and light so that
Yeah.
we feel good about it coming out of it instead of like feeling like, oh. That was heavy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So just dealing with loss, whether
yeah.
it's pretty,
Whether it's a loss of a home with all these people in California, loss of a love, a family member,
or
loss of
even
an
a job, or
identity.
yeah, it can really.
Gosh, people are losing their identity because the construct of the reality is getting thrown out the window.
I say just
That's a big loss.
yeah, I say just let your intuition go on that because you're pretty good about picking up on the different ways of losing things and
I hope so.
or whatever it is.
All these meditations, guys, are inspired by us and you guys in the chat room. Our energy comes together, and whatever comes out, and we release it to the world with a big heart, don't we?
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
Okie
let me
dokie.
make some
So
adjustments.
I'm just gonna click off here, and then I'll pull it closer because I know I'll get quiet.
Oh, actually, you can just hold your mic
Okay,
closer
I
now.
got the right one. And my voice is low today. Drink some water. If
Actually, you
anybody
can
has.
just hold your mic closer now, right? Or
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. I didn't have to do that.
yeah.
Okay, now I'm pushing the screen back because it made no difference whatsoever. I won't go quiet on you guys now because I have this microphone right here.
I'm trying to see if it's going to cut out on you. It kind of cut out for a second. I don't want you
Did
to go
it?
too far into it, and it's doing it a lot. So I'll
We'll,
keep an
we'll,
eye on it. If I have to
okay,
interrupt you, I will, just because I don't want it to get
okay,
lost.
okay. Let me know, guys, if it cuts out, and I'll have to try something else next week. You know, all this technology working and not working. So let's just get comfy, whether you're sitting. I know some people, I think Go-Kart Bob stands during his meditations. If you're standing or sitting, just get comfortable, kind of relax. And please don't be driving while you're meditating. You guys know who I'm talking to as well. And just take a nice, deep, cleansing breath in. Hold it for just a few moments. And when you exhale out any worries that you may have had today or in the past week. And take another nice, deep, cleansing breath in and hold it. And now on the exhale, exhale out any negativity that you felt around you. And finally, while taking a nice, deep, clean, clear exhale in, hold it. And on the exhale, just let go of any tension that might be anywhere in your body. And now we're going to start breathing in through our heart chakra and exhaling out through our heart chakra. And as we inhale in through the heart, we're going to draw in a beautiful, clear, clean light, any color that you like tonight. And exhale that light gently out of your heart chakra. Draw that clear, clean light in, light coming from God, light coming from Source, and light coming from your higher self. And now, as we exhale this light out, we're going to allow it to fill our bodies from the top of our head to the tip of our toes. And now would be a good time to send down your grounding cord from your root chakra. This is a light, usually gold or silver, but any color you're comfortable with, that goes from your root chakra at the base of your spine all the way down, down, down to the center of the earth. And when it reaches the center of the earth, it spreads out in all directions like a tree, like the roots of a tree, grounding you to earth. And now we're just going to breathe comfortably in through our heart chakras and out. And we're going to allow that love light that we've been breathing in to fill a bubble of light around us. This bubble of light goes over your head, in front of your face, behind your head, around your neck, around your shoulders. It goes around your torso, it goes under you, around your legs and under your feet. And as you are cocooned in this beautiful, clear, clean bubble of light coming in through your heart chakra and out of your heart chakra, you know that you are completely protected and completely safe. And now we're just going to imagine a really beautiful place. This could be a place that we've actually seen at some point in our lifetime. It could be a seaside, it could be a forest, it could be an open patch of grass in your backyard that you used to play on as a kid. It could be a cave. It could even be a kind of library, a place where you would go to study. And we're just going to put ourselves in this beautiful place as we join together our hearts and our intentions, our minds, and our spirits to send out joined, loving thoughts to everybody in our personal communities. This could be our family members. This could be our friends. This could even be colleagues at work or neighbors. And we're going to send out this love light with the intention that anybody who is going through a personal loss of any kind feels a warm, loving hug. They feel safe and they feel loved. Because those losses could be loss of a job, loss of income, people who lost their houses due to natural disasters in their area, depending on where you are while you're listening to this. It could be people who lost loved ones. Perhaps a family member passed on recently. It could be people who lost their sense of self-identity, recently come into contact with Mandela effect information, which shook them up to the core, so they're now wondering who they are, what they are, and where they are, and most importantly, why they are here now. And we're just going to send out this love like a gentle hug to all people in our community who really need to know that they are cared for and they are loved. Whether we know them personally or not, our thoughts and our hearts are jointly with all people who have experienced any kind of loss and are going through a grieving process. We know there's traditional theories on grief taking stages and taking time. And we know that everybody goes through a grieving period in their own personal way, at their own speed. But grieving and grief and loss is actually a part of the experience of being a human being on earth in this time frame. It could change. In the future, loss and grief and grieving might not be part of the human experience. But right now, here, today, it is a part of our lives and it is a part of our loved ones' lives that we all experience some loss and some grief along the way. And those of us listening right now and sending out this love to others, it's time that you heal your own grief. You might think you already have because you got over it. You got through it. Maybe it's something that happened a long time ago. But let that feeling of gentle grief come up before you and say, right now, I am ready and willing to let it go. And to fill that space that once held grief with love and compassion. That's all we need to put into the place where we hold our grief, is to allow it to come up, to acknowledge it, to recognize it and say, it's okay. We don't have to suppress grief. We don't have to avoid grief. It's okay to feel these feelings. And now I release you and I let you go into this loving universe. And I fill the space that you once took with compassion and love for all others. So just sit in the light that you have surrounded yourself with and allow yourself to be completely healed of any feelings of loss or suffering or grief that you may ever have felt in your lifetime. And when you're ready, just extend that love and that light as a blanket to all others in your community. And let them feel loved so that they can get through and release their grief or loss as well. And when you're ready, just start to move around a little bit, move your hands, move your wrists. How about your legs, your knees, your feet? I always have to move my neck a little bit. Open your eyes, and if you feel a little out there, a little dizzy, when you're not so dizzy, go get yourself a nice glass of water. Bring yourself back to earth and let your grounding cord disappear into the center of the earth. There, I'm back.
All right, me too.
I need some water too. My mouth feels dry. How did the sound work? Because I held my microphone out like this.
There was a couple of times it messed up, but for the most part, it all came through okay. We'll
Good.
look at the enhancements setting and see if. A lot of times, I think it says something like disable all enhancements, and that can fix it. So I think that's probably it's trying to fix something that doesn't need fixed. Because I was noticing it was happening on the T's and the P's
Ah,
and the
so what's
S's.
happening is my sibilants. Because remember, I used to be in radio, and I have a very high sibilants. So every time I say S, T, and P, I pop, and the microphone is trying to quiet that. It's trying to deaden the sound.
And it takes a second for it to recover. And now, it didn't do it just then for some reason, but I
Ah,
was noticing it was doing it on some of the T's and the S's and stuff. You know, so you'll notice when you play it back.
I'll play it back tonight. I always go back and watch the chat and
I
try
wish
to
there was
connect.
a repeatable way we can make it do it. That way we can know that we fixed it. But no. It's like me with my little microphone. I've got this little.
You've
Uh,
got that's to get rid of the T's and the P's.
yeah, it's supposed to help a little bit. So when I slide it over it, the
Oh, listen to that voice. Honey,
yeah.
you got to do more meditations, videos
Oh,
for it.
where I
You got
can
to
get
do that.
closer to the mic.
Oh my God, Shane. You should have been in radio your whole life,
I
you
would have
know?
loved it. Actually, I went in when I was 18 and went into the studio, and they said, "You got a great voice. It's just you're young, and you need to probably go to broadcasting school." And I was like, "I don't want to do all that.
I did
I should have." But
casting, I did the journalism. And then I was lucky. I got a job in Chicago radio and I did the news. So that's how I hope I don't sound newsy.
no, you
Not when
don't.
we
You don't.
meditate. Good,
No, you don't. That's good.
good.
To me, they sound kind of robotic. It's like, man, did they all have the same teacher or whatever? Because it's just, I don't know.
Oh, it is. Are you ready? It's totally robotic. I'll see if I can do it. Good morning, Chicago. It's 72 degrees outside, and the weather is not only bright, but so is the traffic. Not bad on Lakeshore Drive. We're moving 20 minutes to downtown. It's so robotic. You don't even take a breath.
Right. Yeah, it's something creepy about it. And then you see all these what they call MK Ultra glitches, where they start, yeah,
I'm thinking
they'll
of Wendy
freeze and they'll be like,
Williams. Ah, pew.
and they'll just be frozen looking at the camera, and I don't know, it's just weird, man. Thank you, Ronnie. You're awesome. But yeah, it's that whole thing with and then some of the other ones, it seems like they're having a stroke and they just start talking gibberish
Wendy
and
Williams.
yeah.
Crash, remember?
And it's like, what the heck?
Hey, at least Shane and I, we're not clones.
Right, definitely not clones. Could be extraterrestrial though. Something to think about.
Yes, it could be. I think everybody in this camp here is star seeing.
Yeah,
I know
totally.
it. I know it. I can totally feel that you guys are from another place out there.
Yeah, that's what they want, Morgan. They said it. He's talking about the
Morgan H.
robotic voice. They put you to sleep, and I think that's
Oh,
what they
you're
want.
right.
It's
You're right.
hypnotic. They want
It
you
is
to
hypnotic. It's like, good morning, Chicago. Yeah, I went
radio
through the whole
programming, TV
thing.
programming. It's programming.
Yeah, yeah. Oh well. It was fun when I did it. I used to do the news and I didn't like doing the news because it was live and I would like be reading these little words and my eyesight's not great and I would stumble. I really like being able to hit the record button, hit the pause button, cut, splice, you know?
Yeah, but you
But
know
we
what
don't
I
do
do
that.
when I'm
We don't,
doing when I'm doing mine. I go, if I screw up, I just go back and re-say that line, and then at the end I go back, and then whenever I mess up, I know I'm going to cut that chunk out, and I've said it again. And sometimes it might take three times of saying something. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm fumbling over this. It would be horrible if I was live right now, But I'm able to just cut it out, cut out the two mess ups, and leave the good one. And
but
uh,
we don't fumble. When we're chatting and we're communicating, we
yeah,
don't fumble, do we?
no, I think there's a different level of trying to be perfect when you're recording it, and especially if it's like a
You're reading a
meditation.
script or
Yeah,
you've got a script, right? There's
yeah,
a script and that's what tend to mess up.
yeah.
Have you ever left it in? Like you accidentally didn't cut it out and you say it twice?
Uh, I have, but I've caught it before it went all the way to, being released or whatever. But man, that sucks when you render it and you're like, okay, one last time. You're like, oh my gosh, I said that twice because I messed it up. And sometimes it
Because
would work, but I just can't leave it in there. Then I've got to cut it out, re-render it, and you're talking like 30 minutes because I overlooked something.
yeah, rendering is very time consuming.
Yeah,
So on my little videos, I tend to leave them in. If I hear a little mistake and it's rendered, then I'm just going to leave it in.
yeah. But sometimes I take days to do something. It's like, do I really want to take days to do this just to leave in? You
And
know,
then it's not perfect.
yeah.
No, because you spent too much time making it good. I know what you mean.
And it'll never be perfect. So even with you taking all that out, there'll be things about it you don't like still. But the things you don't like, if you can just take them out, I don't know. I'm
That's what
weird
I
like
like
that.
about this format because it's organic.
Yeah,
It's like not scripted, so you never know. Sometimes I say things and I watch it back and I'm like, oh, that was really stupid. Just said, but then I just forget about it because people don't care. You look in the comments and they haven't even noticed that you said something stupid.
yeah. There a lot of times you guys have your own conversations going on there. I notice, but that's totally cool. I'm just glad that you're here and kind of listening in.
They are. I think they've got one ear on the show and one eye on the chat. And they can actually listen to one thing and chat about another at the same time
Yeah,
because they're just totally present. Because then they'll just, boom, say something about,
yeah.
what they just heard.
Yeah, and I try to do that too. But although if people don't put it in red, I can miss a lot because I am mostly with my guest or
Yeah.
with you here, and then I just try to glance over there. So I'm mainly with you, and I'm kind of like putting a little attention over there to see what's going on, but I mainly look for my name in red, and a lot of people don't do that, so I can miss a lot.
Yeah, I noticed that a few people, I think last week, put your name in, but it didn't go to red because it has to be exactly the way it is on the screen. It has to be at unbiased with a capital U, it has to have the and sign, not an and it has to have a capital O for on, a small T for the, and a capital F for fence, and then it'll go red. And everybody occasionally puts in, I'm biased and on the fence, nothing capitalized, it doesn't go red.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They'll say UOTF, which maybe I should change it to UOTF. Now that everybody knows, at least make it easier in the chat, and they can just type, at UOTF. Because some people put at Shane, and that doesn't come up either.
No, that doesn't come up either. And I just want you guys to know he is not ignoring you. It's just not coming up. It's not turning red on his screen because it's not exactly the way YouTube has it, That's frustrating.
Well, on the computer, if somebody's on a computer, laptop, or desktop, or whatever, if they put at UN, then it pops it up there. They can click it, and they don't have to type the whole thing. But I noticed on phones, it doesn't do that, or I haven't noticed it. And most people are on phones.
In the laptop, you just put the first two characters of who you want to talk to, and it fills in the blank. Yeah. And on phones, it gives you nothing. But on my laptop, I get no emojis. And on my phones, I can send you guys all kinds of emojis.
Yeah, that sucks. It's like one or the other. Now, there is a little smiley face thing you can hit to open up the emojis. Do you have that on the laptop? You might have just missed it. It's right next to the money sign for if you want to donate. Next to that, there's like a little emoji button, and it takes away the type and puts up, all of the different emojis in there. So maybe you just missed it.
If you could show me right when we go off the air tonight, because I've totally missed it. And I try to answer my comments on my phone, and then I miss them because at least my phone has emojis. And then on my computer, I don't miss the comments because they put them down in a big list, but I have no emojis. So it's really boring. I might do the old-fashioned smiley face. Do you remember the two dots and the
Yeah, that's how I deal with the comments. Now, the comments, I don't have emojis on.
Yeah, me neither.
Just in the chat, I can pull up the little emoji thing. But I just have to do the regular old colon and parentheses for the smiley.
Yeah. So I send a lot of X's and O's and little smiley faces the old-fashioned way. I can do a heart.
Yeah.
Where you do that little sharp.
Greater than. And
yeah, and a 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's cool if it pops up like that, but it just comes up just like that if you do it. Most people are like, what's that thing?
Couldn't YouTube just give us emojis in the comments so that when we reply to people who have sent us a dozen emojis, we can send them some back? Love you, hugs, kisses.
They just don't know how much we love them in our community. I mean, I just said that what was it, the Friday Night Love stream I showed my son. I said, look at all those emojis. Isn't that just beautiful? All that color in the chat, and I'm bragging on everybody's emojis or whatever.
And as soon as you said that, I bet it exploded with emojis. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it was funny though. Yeah, it was. I just had it open from the stream after, and I was scrolling back up and showing them all of them. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, I'm going to be listening to the love stream tomorrow morning over a nice cup of coffee. It's the first thing I'm going to do Sunday morning when I get up is catch it, because I was too tired Friday night. I was out like a light. Yeah.
That's cool. All right, well, we can wrap this up, and then we can talk about your sound when we go off the air. So lots of love and light to everybody. We will be back next Saturday night. Thank you guys for joining us, and have a good one. Thanks again, Eileen.
Thanks, Shane. Love you guys. See you next Saturday.
Peace.
Peace. I forgot.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.